Brothers and sisters, we are fortunate to have Maryam Asaria today, who's going to be speaking to us about why we should say no to grammar schools. Please welcome wa salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Maryam Asaria has an undergraduate in physics. Following her physics degree, she decided to undertake a PGCE and qualify to become a secondary school science teacher. She is currently the head of physics at the local comprehensive in Harrow, while undertaking a part-time master's in educational policy at the Institute of Education. During her PGCE and her 2 years of teaching at the local comprehensive school, she has been appalled by the increasing amount of inequality within society, a lot of which she believes is down to the changes taking place in the education system in the UK. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Those of you who don't know me, as Kamal said, my name is Maryam, and I'm currently a teacher at a local comprehensive. Today, I want to put forward an argument for why we should oppose the new policy of bringing back grammar schools. Just to start off with then, the definition of a grammar school is any school to which pupils are admitted on the basis of academic attainment, usually through an exam taken at the age of 11. So recently, Theresa May has made clear that she wants to reintroduce grammar schools in the UK. She said in a speech given when she was announcing the policy, currently students that can afford to go to private schools do so. However, students that cannot afford to do so are not currently given the choice of attending a selective school. We are effectively saying to poorer and some of the most disadvantaged children in our country that they can't have the kind of education that their richer counterparts can enjoy. She plans to overturn the ban placed on opening new grammar schools by the Labour Party, thereby increasing the number of grammar schools in the UK. She believes this will give students from all social backgrounds the choice of going to a selective school, thus giving them the chance to receive what she believes is a better education. Just go into the next slide. Her two main arguments for her policy then are, currently, there's a restriction to school choice based on catchment areas. House prices surrounding good schools tend to be a lot higher, and so parents who can't afford to move to an area with a good school nearby can't send their children to a good school. This issue won't exist with grammar schools, as the criteria for entry will be based on merit rather than location. Grammar schools will enable academically gifted children the specialist and tailored support that can enable them to fulfill their potential. Students who could not previously afford a private education and were academically gifted can now have the choice to be stretched in order to achieve their true potential at grammar schools. In essence, students who couldn't afford private schools can now go to grammar schools instead. This all sounds great. Everyone's being given this choice to attend a good school. It doesn't matter if you're from a poor background or a rich background. Everyone has the same opportunity to have this great education. Unfortunately, however, this is not the case. The policy seems to be based on pure ideology rather than any actual evidence. When we look into areas that currently have grammar schools, and previously when the UK used to have the grammar school system, students from poorer backgrounds are a lot less likely to get in. This is usually put down to the fact that the 11+ exam is just not fair. Parents who can afford tutoring for this exam will usually do so, whereas students from poorer families will not receive this help. May has acknowledged this is a problem and so constantly argues that she's going to create this tutor-proof exam. Tutor-proof exams, however, have been trialled, with a lot of research going into them, particularly recently in Buckinghamshire. However, years of data have suggested that this doesn't work. In this area, so in Buckinghamshire, only 7% of students who are eligible to free school meals, which is a measure of poverty in education, managed to gain entry, while 38% of students who are not on free school meal passed the 11+ exam. So evidently there's a problem. Even when we look at students who have achieved equally as well in their Key Stage 2 SATs, an exam sat by all students in the UK, in Year 6, free school meal students are still less likely to make it into grammars than their non-free school meal counterparts. There's evidently something inherently unfair in the selection process, which favours, in particular, middle class and upper class students. It's not just richer students, however, that tend to get into grammars. Data suggests that girls are more likely to get into grammar schools than boys. Students who are born in the first 4 months of the school year, so September to December, are also more likely to get in. And if a student has any form of special educational needs, which includes things like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, or any physical disability, the chances of that student attending a grammar school is drastically reduced. In areas with grammar schools, on average, the proportion of pupils with special educational needs who are state-mentored or have educational health and care plans is 0.04%, compared with 2.3% in comprehensives. Particular races are also favoured over others. So, for example, black students are heavily underrepresented in grammar schools. This policy claims to be creating an education open to all, but in reality, unfortunately, grammar schools are not an education open to all at all. The main argument, however, against grammar schools, however, is what about the students that don't get in? In areas with grammar schools, about 35% of pupils attend the grammar schools, whereas 65%, which is the majority, are left behind. Grammar schools are fine for the students that get into them, but the students that don't often receive substandard education, and generally their academic attainment is a lot lower than students of the same ability in areas without grammar schools. Why? In education, there's something called the peer effect. If you're educated alongside high-achieving students, usually attainment as a whole increases. If the top achievers are taken out, students' attainment decreases significantly. High-achieving students are already stretched in comprehensive schools. In fact, attainment for the middle-class high achievers in grammar schools is no different to if they were to have attended a comprehensive. When high achievers are compared to students of the same ability in areas where grammar schools don't exist, the end outcome is usually the same anyway. So just imagine an area where richer students are educated separately to poorer students, an area where any form of disability puts you at more of a disadvantage than the disadvantage that society already creates, and an area where your academic achievement is completely dependent on the background into which you have been born. Well, this area would be the UK if we allow grammar schools to be reintroduced. Why would we waste government funds on creating an education system that favours a certain type of student when we can spend that money on making an education system that caters for all students better? I'm not saying our current comprehensive system is anywhere near perfect, because it's not. Believe me, I work in it. But with extra funding going into it, imagine what we could achieve. That's all. Thank you for listening.